Welcome to Daily English Stories. Every story hides a world. Some inspire, some haunt, some stay forever. Chapter 1. The Power of Thought. Every great journey begins in the mind, with one simple, powerful thought. A thought so strong that it refuses to die, even when the world says it's impossible. Napoleon Hill begins his timeless philosophy with the story of a man named Edwin C. Barnes, an ordinary person who dared to think extraordinarily. Barnes was not rich, he had no education, no influence, and no powerful friends, but he had one thing that many others lacked: a burning desire. A single thought had taken root in his mind: I will work with Thomas Edison. Not for Edison, not under him, but with him, as an equal partner. People laughed when they heard this. How could a man with no money or connections dream of working with one of the greatest inventors in history? But Barnes didn't listen to the laughter. He didn't let the doubts of others weaken his vision. He knew that every success story begins not with opportunity, but with belief. One morning, with only a few coins in his pocket and a heart full of determination, Barnes jumped on a freight train to Orange, New Jersey, the city where Thomas Edison's laboratory stood. His clothes were dusty, his shoes were worn out, but his spirit was unshaken. When he arrived at Edison's office, he introduced himself not as a beggar looking for a job, but as a man who had come to be Edison's business partner. Edison, amused and curious, saw something in Barnes, not in his appearance, but in his eyes. There was a fire there, a conviction that most people lose after their first failure. Edison gave him a small opportunity, not as a partner, but as a worker in his office. To others, it was a lowly position. To Barnes, it was the door to his destiny. He worked quietly, patiently, proving his worth through dedication and faith. Every day, he told himself, I am going to be Edison's partner. He didn't just wish for it. He believed it, spoke it, and lived it. That thought became his identity. Months turned into years, and then one day, opportunity knocked, just as it always does for those who refuse to give up. Edison had invented a new machine, but his salesman didn't believe it would sell. Barnes saw his moment. He asked Edison for a chance to try. Edison agreed, and with passion and confidence, Barnes sold the machine successfully when others had failed. Edison kept his promise. That day, Barnes became Edison's trusted partner. His dream had come true, not because he was lucky, not because someone gave him a gift, but because he held on to a single thought with unbreakable faith until it became his reality. Napoleon Hill uses Barnes' story to teach a truth that has changed millions of lives. Thoughts are things. They may be invisible, but they are real forces shaping our destiny. Every invention, every fortune, every success, they all began as ideas living silently in the mind of someone who refused to doubt. The world often tells us to be realistic, to lower our expectations, to stop dreaming. But the truth is, everything that exists today, the airplanes we fly in, the cities we live in, the stories we read, all began as dreams in someone's mind. It's not the size of the dream that matters, but the strength of belief behind it. Barnes' success reminds us that success doesn't wait for the right conditions. It doesn't ask for permission. It begins with a single thought, nurtured by purpose, watered by effort, and protected by faith. When you truly believe in something, your mind begins to find ways to make it happen. You start seeing opportunities where others see nothing. You begin to attract people, situations, and events that move you closer to your goal. Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Those are not just words. They are the law of the universe. Your mind is a magnet. It pulls toward you the things you constantly think about. Think failure and you will fail. Think success and success will find its way to you. So the lesson is clear. Never underestimate the power of a single thought. Guard your mind carefully. Plant in it only the seeds of belief, hope, and courage. Because one day those invisible seeds may grow into something greater than you can imagine. In the end, Edwin C. Barnes didn't just prove his worth to Edison. He proved something far more important to the world, that an ordinary person, armed with an extraordinary thought, can achieve the impossible. And that is the real power of thought, the starting point of all riches, all achievements, and all success stories ever written. Chapter 2, Turning Desire into Action. Desire, no matter how fierce, remains only a dream until it takes the shape of action. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill reminds us that the distance between wishing and achieving is bridged by action, deliberate, organized, and persistent action. Many people have dreams that live and die within their imagination. They wait for the right time, the right chance, or the perfect condition. But success, as Hill teaches, never bows to hesitation. It belongs to those who act while others plan, who move while others wait. And this chapter begins with one simple truth. Every man who has ever achieved greatness first made a definite plan. Hill gives us the story of how even the grandest desires crumble without direction. He explains that success is never the result of random luck, but of organized effort guided by a clear goal. The difference between a dreamer and a doer lies in their ability to act, to turn thought into movement. Barnes, whose story began in the first chapter, didn't stop at merely wishing to work with Thomas Edison. He acted upon his desire, traveling without money, presenting himself at Edison's office, and offering his service. That bold step, that willingness to move when others would have doubted, became the turning point of his life. Hill uses this as a lesson. The universe does not reward dreams that stay in the mind. It rewards those who express belief through action. The chapter further reveals that every plan, no matter how perfect, will face obstacles. Hill writes that temporary defeat should never be mistaken for failure. Many give up at the first sign of resistance, but persistence, the ability to keep going when everything says stop, is what separates winners from quitters. The stories of successful men throughout history show one thing in common. They all kept moving, adjusting, and learning through every setback. Napoleon Hill introduces the concept of definite purpose, the cornerstone of every successful person's plan. Without a definite aim, even the greatest talent is wasted. Desire must be directed like a river, not scattered, but focused. When a man knows exactly what he wants, he begins to notice opportunities that others overlook. His actions become guided by a single purpose, and the world itself seems to open paths before him. Hill also stresses the importance of faith in this process. Action without faith is like a ship without a compass. You may move, but you won't arrive. Faith gives strength to continue when results are invisible. The mind, when convinced of success, draws circumstances and people that help fulfill that belief. Many call it luck, but Hill calls it the law of attraction in action. The power of belief combined with effort. Another key lesson from this chapter is the necessity of writing down one's plan. A vague dream has no weight, but a written plan transforms the abstract into the tangible. Hill advises readers to create a step-by-step outline, what they want, when they want it, and how they plan to get it. Every night, repeat it. Every morning, act upon it. Slowly, these written intentions begin to take form in the real world. But even with action, failure will visit. Hill doesn't hide this truth. Instead, he celebrates it. He calls failure the test of persistence, the world's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Those who surrender reveal that their desire was weak. Those who rise again prove they are destined for success. Edison, Lincoln, Ford all failed more than once, yet their repeated action turned defeat into discovery. By the end of this chapter, Hill delivers a powerful message. Dreams demand discipline. Desire must be trained through action, shaped by purpose and strengthened by persistence. Every person has within them the potential to achieve greatness, but only those who act consistently and courageously turn potential into reality. The path from desire to achievement is not a straight line, but a journey of faith, resilience, and relentless motion. Hill concludes that when desire and action walk hand in hand, no force on earth can stop the dreamer from becoming the doer, and the doer from becoming the achiever. Chapter 3, The Force of Faith and Imagination. Faith and imagination, two invisible powers that build the visible world. Napoleon Hill calls faith the starting point of all riches, the foundation upon which every dream rests. Imagination, he says, is the workshop of the mind, the place where desires are molded into plans, and plans are shaped into reality. Together they form the most powerful combination known to man. Without them, desire remains lifeless and action becomes mechanical. With them, the impossible becomes possible. This chapter begins with a truth that echoes through every page of Hill's philosophy. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Faith, in Hill's view, is not just a spiritual belief. It is a state of mind that can be cultivated. It's the quiet but unshakable conviction that you will succeed, even when there is no evidence to prove it. Faith gives energy to thought and courage to action. It is the inner light that keeps burning when the world grows dark. Napoleon Hill introduces the concept of autosuggestion, the practice of feeding your subconscious mind with positive, repeated thoughts. Every day, consciously or unconsciously, we speak to ourselves. Most people, sadly, fill their minds with fear, doubt, and limitations. Hill explains that the subconscious mind accepts whatever it hears most often. If you tell yourself you cannot, your mind believes it. If you repeat with conviction that you can, your mind will begin to find ways to make it happen. He writes that faith is not something we are born with. It is something we create through repetition, visualization, and belief. The great leaders of history, Lincoln, Edison, Ford, and countless others, were not men of luck. They were men of unwavering faith. They believed in their dreams so deeply that even failure could not make them doubt. Their imagination was so vivid that the world around them eventually conformed to what they had already seen in their minds. Hill divides imagination into two forms: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination rearranges old ideas into new combinations, like inventing a new product from existing materials. Creative imagination, however, reaches beyond logic. It connects with what Hill calls infinite intelligence, the universal source of inspiration that feeds great discoveries, art, and innovation. Every great idea, every invention that changed humanity first appeared as a spark in someone's mind before it became a reality others could see or touch. In Hill's philosophy, imagination is not child's play, it is creation at its purest. He warns that those who kill their imagination also kill their future. The mind must be trained to see beyond the present, to dream not of what is, but of what could be. And once that dream is clear, faith must breathe life into it. Without faith, imagination remains a fantasy. Without imagination, faith has nothing to build upon. The chapter also reminds us that fear is the enemy of faith. Hill describes fear as a silent killer of dreams, the unseen wall that keeps people from even trying. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of poverty. These are the poisons that destroy faith before it can grow. The antidote, he says, is constant self-suggestion. Replace every fearful thought with one of strength. Repeat your goal daily. See it, feel it, and act as if it were already yours. Slowly, the subconscious mind begins to accept it as truth. And once it believes, the universe begins to align with that belief. Hill supports this with countless examples of men who imagined their success long before others could see it. Edison imagined light when there was only darkness. Henry Ford imagined cars on every road when people laughed at the thought. These men were not guided by evidence, but by faith, a faith built upon persistent imagination. They lived in the reality they had not yet created, and in doing so, they made it real. Napoleon Hill also gives a practical exercise. Create a mental picture of your goal and hold it firmly in your mind. Repeat to yourself aloud your definite purpose, your plan, and your belief that it will happen. Do this every morning and night. Feel the success before it arrives. When the mind believes something deeply enough, the body follows. You begin to act, to speak, and live as the person you aim to become. And soon that image in your mind becomes your reality. Faith and imagination are not magical gifts. They are disciplines. Hill insists that anyone can build faith by controlling their thoughts, and anyone can expand imagination by daring to dream without limits. The greatest mistake people make is waiting to see before they believe. In truth, it is belief that makes sight possible. By the end of this chapter, Hill delivers a timeless message. Your mind is your greatest asset. It can destroy you with doubt or build you into greatness with faith. Imagination gives you the blueprint of the future. Faith provides the energy to build it. Together, they form the unstoppable force that turns invisible dreams into visible success. When faith speaks, fear is silent. When imagination acts, destiny listens. Chapter 4, The Secret of Specialized Knowledge. Knowledge is power, but only when it is organized, directed, and applied with purpose. Napoleon Hill reminds us that millions of people have access to education, books, and information, yet only a few truly succeed. Why? Because success does not come from what you know. It comes from how you use what you know. The world is full of people with great learning but little achievement because their knowledge lies scattered and unused. This chapter reveals that specialized knowledge, not general information, is the true secret of success. Hill begins by drawing a simple but profound distinction. General knowledge, the kind taught in schools, may make you well informed, but it rarely makes you wealthy. It's like owning a library, but never opening the books. Specialized knowledge, on the other hand, focuses on one field, one goal, one passion. It's knowledge that solves a specific problem or fulfills a particular need. The doctor, the engineer, the inventor, and the entrepreneur each uses knowledge in a focused way to serve others. That service, multiplied by value, becomes success. He illustrates this with powerful, real-world examples. Henry Ford, who built one of the greatest industrial empires in history, had very little formal education. Yet he was one of the most knowledgeable men alive, not because he knew everything, but because he knew where to find the people who did. Ford understood that the ability to organize knowledge, to gather experts around a single purpose, was more powerful than memorizing facts. His mastermind group of engineers, designers, and business thinkers transformed the automobile industry forever. Hill emphasizes that knowledge by itself has no value unless it is applied to a definite plan of action. It must be directed toward a clear purpose. A person may have multiple degrees, but without a plan, that knowledge remains dormant, like an engine without fuel. A successful individual is not necessarily the one who knows the most, but the one who acts with focus and intention. This is where Napoleon Hill introduces the mastermind principle, one of his most revolutionary ideas. He explains that no one achieves greatness alone. Every powerful leader, every successful business, every great movement in history has been the result of minds working together in harmony. The mastermind is not just a team, it is the blending of thoughts, talents, and energies of two or more people who work toward a common goal. When minds connect with mutual respect and shared vision, a new force, almost like a third mind, is created. Hill describes this as a spiritual and mental energy greater than the sum of its parts. He gives the example of Thomas Edison, whose success was not just his own genius, but the result of collaboration with a team of skilled scientists and assistants. Each person contributed specialized knowledge, chemistry, mechanics, design, and together they created the modern electric world. It was not a single mind, but a network of focused minds working in unity that changed history. Hill also reminds readers that specialized knowledge is not static. The world changes, industries evolve, and yesterday's knowledge may not solve tomorrow's problems. That is why learning must be a lifelong pursuit. The most successful people are not those who once studied hard, but those who never stop studying. They adapt, grow, and constantly update their understanding. Hill encourages readers to read daily, attend lectures, and seek mentors, not for the sake of information, but for transformation. He also warns against arrogance. Many people stop learning once they achieve a small success, believing they already know enough. But true wisdom begins when you admit how little you know. The open mind is the mind that grows. The closed one decays. Specialized knowledge thrives in humility, the willingness to learn from others, to listen, to observe, and to apply. Another key lesson in this chapter is the importance of service. Hill insists that knowledge must always serve others. Wealth and power come not from hoarding information, but from using it to solve human problems. A teacher enlightens minds, a doctor heals bodies, an engineer builds progress, all by applying knowledge to meet real needs. Success in its truest sense is the result of making life better for others through what you know and what you do with it. Toward the end of the chapter, Hill challenges readers to look within and ask, what is my area of specialized knowledge? What unique value can I offer the world? Every person, he says, has a natural gift, a talent, skill, or passion that can be refined into expertise. The key is to focus deeply, learn continuously, and connect with others who complement your strengths. Finally, Hill brings it all together with his timeless truth. Knowledge is potential power. It becomes real power only when organized into a plan of action and directed toward a purpose that benefits others. When combined with faith, desire, and persistence, specialized knowledge becomes the foundation of achievement, the bridge between thought and reality. In a world overflowing with information, those who master specialized knowledge and learn how to apply it wisely become the true builders of their destiny. Chapter 5, Persistence, the Path to Greatness. Every great dream begins with hope, but it survives only through persistence. In this final chapter, Napoleon Hill unveils one of the most powerful truths in the universe. Success is not reserved for the most talented and the wealthiest or the luckiest. It belongs to those who refuse to quit. Persistence, Hill says, is the golden key that unlocks every door of opportunity. He begins by reminding us that every journey toward success will test our strength. Challenges will arise, failures will sting, and people will doubt us. Many will stop when things become hard, but the few who push forward, who keep walking when the road turns rough, are the ones who reach their destination. Hill calls persistence the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Without persistence, faith dies. Without faith, dreams collapse. Through stories of men and women who triumphed against impossible odds, Hill paints a clear picture of what persistence truly means. Thomas Edison, he says, failed thousands of times before perfecting the electric light bulb. When asked how he managed to keep going, Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His secret was not genius, it was perseverance. He believed that each setback was simply another step toward success. Hill also shares the story of Henry Ford, who faced ridicule and rejection from almost everyone around him. When Ford proposed building an affordable automobile for the masses, people laughed. "It's impossible," they said, but Ford's vision was stronger than their doubt. He kept testing, improving, and believing through until the world itself began to move on wheels. His persistence transformed an idea into an industry that changed human history. Hill explains that persistence is not a gift, it is a habit. It grows through discipline, desire, and clarity of purpose. The clearer your goal, the stronger your persistence becomes. People who know exactly what they want rarely give up. It's the uncertainty of purpose that kills determination. When you have a definite goal, something that burns in your heart, every obstacle becomes fuel for your fire. He also reminds us that failure is not the end, but a teacher. Each failure carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. When something doesn't work, the universe is not saying no, it's saying not this way. Those who understand this principle never stop trying. They simply adjust their plan and keep moving. Temporary defeat, Hill writes, should only mean one thing, that something is wrong with your plan, not with your dream. The chapter also explores the mental battle that comes with persistence. The greatest enemy of success is not the obstacle outside, but the doubt within. fear, criticism, and fatigue whisper it's not worth it. That's when true persistence is born, in the silence of the heart, when no one else believes. Hill calls this the moment of truth, when your spirit must decide whether to surrender or fight. Those who persist through this inner storm become unstoppable. One of Hill's most powerful lessons in this chapter is that persistence can be built even if it doesn't come naturally. He gives 4 simple steps to develop it. 1, a clear purpose backed by burning desire. 2, a definite plan expressed in continuous action. 3, a mind closed to all negative influences and discouraging opinions. 4, a friendly alliance with people who encourage you to keep going. These 4 pillars create the foundation of unshakable persistence. Together, they protect you from the doubts and distractions that pull most people away from their dreams. Hill also reminds readers that persistence is not loud or dramatic. Often it is quiet, patient, and unseen. It is the writer who keeps revising their work, the student who studies late into the night, the entrepreneur who faces failure after failure but keeps showing up. True persistence doesn't shout, it whispers, "I will try again tomorrow." He concludes with the story of the gold miner who gave up digging after months of effort, only to learn later that he had stopped just 3 feet from a massive vein of gold. This story, Hill says, represents the greatest tragedy of human life: quitting when success is just around the corner. Most people don't fail, they simply stop trying too soon. In the final pages, Hill's message becomes deeply personal and inspiring. He reminds us that persistence is not only the path to wealth and success, it is the path to greatness in every form. Every inventor, artist, teacher, and leader who ever made a difference did so not because life was easy, but because they refused to give up when it was hard. He ends with a timeless truth. Victory is always possible for the person who refuses to stop fighting. The world will test your patience, challenge your faith, and push you to your limits. But if you hold on, if you keep believing, if you stay the course, you will win. Because in the end, success is not about strength or intelligence. It is about persistence. It is the quiet courage to keep moving forward when everyone else has stopped. It is the flame that burns even in the darkest night, and it is the one quality that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. So, as Napoleon Hill leaves us with his final lesson, he says, dream big, believe deeply, and never, ever give up. For those who persist, victory is inevitable.